It's no secret that Sonic the Hedgehog possesses one of the most iconic character designs in video game history. A design that has stood the test of time and has played, in my opinion, a major factor in the longevity of this franchise. But what did it take to get to this design? In this video, I'm going to take a look at some of the rejected concepts for our favorite hedgehogs so you all can take a quick glimpse at what could have been. Whether some of these designs are great alternatives or a complete disaster, well, I'll let you be the judge. Greetings my children, I'm TheMentok, and without further ado, let's head back in time. So this rabbit was the front runner of what could have been Sega's new mascot of the 90s, before the idea of a too cool for school hedgehog took center stage. This rabbit was meant to run through levels at similar speeds to Sonic, and pick up items with his ears to throw at enemies. Now to understand how this rabbit and other designs I'm showing came to be, we need to take a look at Sega's approach to the video game market at the time. It's a bit of an understatement to say Nintendo was absolutely dominating the industry in the late 1980s. Sega was releasing games at the time and had some relative success with their Sega Master System console in Japan. With the upcoming release of their newest console, the Sega Mega Drive, later rebranded Sega Genesis in North America, they wanted to improve their brand to be able to stand up to Nintendo. But what they were severely lacking was a mascot, a console title to truly push the new 16-bit hardware. Mario was an unavoidable household name and the poster boy for video gaming. Sega desperately needed an answer for this extremely popular plumber.
Are you telling us that you can arrest the guy for being a plumber? Get out of here! Get in there, plumber!
The original Sega mascot Alex Kidd had failed to gain traction with his series of games released for the Master System. So it was time for Sega to go back to the drawing board for their newest console. That's when they started a contest of champions among all of their branches to create the mascot that would stand up to the great Super Mario. This contest took place in both Japan and America with an unknown number of designs. So let's take a look at a few of these. So as I showed you a little bit before, this rabbit was supposed to be the new poster boy for Sega. He had a bow tie and was supposed to pick up items with his ears to throw at enemies. So this artwork was created by Naoto Oshima, who also created the actual design for Sonic the Hedgehog. But before that, they were gonna go with this rabbit, but decided that it didn't really fit the speed and momentum that they were going for. They felt the rabbit stopping to pick up item with his ears would interrupt momentum a little too much for the level design that we're going for. It is interesting to see the obvious influence from Felix the Cat. I also liken this design to Oswald the Rabbit, a lost Disney property that was recently regained by Disney. Not sure how popular that design was at the time, but I would say this design definitely takes some inspiration from Felix the Cat and Mickey Mouse, similar to what they were going for with the actual hedgehog design. Here are a couple more designs that are actually of an elder-like warrior. I think this was probably before they decided what the levels would be like and the speed that they were going for when they were designing the game, but a couple of these look like they belong in Golden Axe. Here's another one with a sword in his hand and a Dragon Quest-like warrior helmet. This next one has two separate concepts in it.
One of a clown
that looks like it belongs in Nights into Dreams, and another with a warrior wearing a dragon's head thing with a baseball cap.
What?
I'm not too sure of the inspiration for this, but he clearly has a slingshot in his hand, so I believe that was going to be the weapon of choice for this character. This clown design, not so much. I don't see how this would have taken off with kids back in the 90s, though the 90s was a bit of a crazy time, so maybe this would have been a hit. Here's another concept that has a very similar design to Bart Simpson or something out of The Simpsons. I feel like they were going with something a little bit more zany here because it looks like he's jumping with his farts in this picture. Either way, I'm glad they scrapped the design. It's a little too generic for me, and there's obviously some inspiration from both The Simpsons and Mario here. Now this concept looked like it came straight out of Mega Man. You have to wonder what the game mechanics would have been if this were the character that was chosen. Would you get to customize his parts similar to Mega Man? I mean, since there was already another robot warrior in the industry at the moment, I don't think this would have taken off either. This next one is a strange large nose character, and I think it takes a few pages out of the Dragon Quest era or Final Fantasy era. This actually looks similar to those Trolls dolls that were very popular at the time, and I don't think it's crazy to say that they took some inspiration from those. Next up we have a small porcupine. Not sure who this was submitted by, but it is pretty close to what we got, although the character seems a little bit more lazy than what Sega was going for. He has an apple in his hand, so maybe that would have been the collectible instead of rings. Interesting to think about, huh? Now, this was another official artwork created by Naoto Oshima. This design certainly reminds me of John Travolta's character in Grease. Or maybe it takes some liberties from the Fonz character and from Happy Days. This design does have some importance though, because it was actually transformed into a character called Sharps the Parakeet. Sharps the Parakeet is not an official Sonic the Hedgehog character, but he was gonna be a bandmate in the original concept that Sonic was part of a rock band. Who knows, maybe we'll see this character in the series in the future. Next up, we have a couple designs of a wolf wearing an American flag for a t-shirt. Since Mario was doing so well in North America at the time, I'm not surprised that Sega was trying to tailor to the American market. Though this guy looks like he belongs more on a cereal box to me. Very close to our wolf character over there was a bulldog as well. Similarly to other designs, he has those black sunglasses in his hand and seems to be marketed as another bad boy type of character. Now I find this design a little bit fascinating. It's close to the long nose design that we saw earlier, a bit of a humanoid figure for Sonic. He resembles a typical type of anime hero at the time, except he seems to be half humanoid, half hedgehog. This particular design was submitted by Yasushi Yamaguchi, who was a big part of creating the original Sonic the Hedgehog game. Him and Naoto Oshima both had the idea of a human-like hedgehog character. The pair ultimately ended up working together alongside Yuji Naka to create the final concept art for Sonic the Hedgehog. The original design here is known as Mr. Hari Nezumi, which translates to Mr. Hedgehog or Mr. Needlemouse. This would be the name that they went for until they ultimately changed it to the name that we know and love today, Sonic the Hedgehog. Now I wanted to save this very interesting concept art for later on. Before they decided on a hedgehog, they were thinking of a man with mustache in pajamas. This was also designed by Naoto Oshima. After they scrapped the idea of having a rabbit as the mascot, they were actually thinking of using this man with mustache in pajamas. Does he look familiar to you? I guess they fell in love with this design so much that he eventually became the Dr. Eggman that we know and love. Of course, they took this design and made it a little bit more evil, changing his pajamas to a lab coat outfit and putting him into a machine to make him a proper antagonist for their hedgehog character. Before pitching this all to Sega, Oshima actually posted up in Central Park in New York and presented the public with the two designs of guy with mustache in pajamas and the cool hedgehog character to see which they liked best. The hedgehog character was an overwhelming success for his little street pole, and he brought home anecdotal evidence that this was the character that they would be going for to break the market in the West. They took the color scheme from Santa Claus to design his red and white shoes, and the design of the shoes itself being drawn from the look of Michael Jackson, who was huge in the 1980s. So once they started planning out this mythology, the original idea was that Sonic was going to be in a rock band, have a human girlfriend, and fight off an egg-shaped human. So they kept one of these things, and surprisingly it's the least ridiculous one out of the three. This is a quick concept of the Sonic the Hedgehog band. Of course, Sonic is the lead singer here, but we have Mock the Rabbit on the drums, so I guess they dropped the rabbit idea and decided to make him a bandmate for Sonic. Max the Monkey on bass guitar, who was dropped after this concept art. Sharps the Parakeet, and if this crocodile looks familiar to you, this is in fact Vector the Crocodile in his earliest form, before he became playable in the Chaotix for the Sega 32X. He's now a pretty reoccurring character in the Sonic series in general. Finally, this concept art kind of exhibits a few interesting things that were probably dropped. We have Sonic surrounded by a bunch of monsters here, and I think they went with robots instead to go with the scheme with Dr. Eggman being a scientist. We have a huge demon in the back who could have been the main antagonist for the Sonic series in general. I don't have much other information aside from this drawing, but it's interesting to see that they took a few pointers out of that old cartoon type of villain with the hands up in the air, similar to what you see in Cuphead. In the back over here on the right is an early concept of Robotnik or Eggman as well, in a Bumblebee costume. I'm sure he was going to be a recurring villain, but then I guess they dropped the idea of that main antagonist in the back and just went with Eggman. And finally, above Sonic here is a human girlfriend that he was supposed to have, known as Madonna. I think this was just a very early and random concept that wasn't really fleshed out too much. Since Mario had his own damsel of distress, they probably decided to take Sonic away from that and focus on the villain-hero dynamic between him and Dr. Eggman. So that's a majority of the concept art for early Sonic the Hedgehog. Shout out to Sonic Retro for compiling all of these images and info. It's absolutely astonishing how much we have from that early concept period, considering how secretive Sega is about some development. And be sure to leave a like or a comment below if you want me to go over more concept art from the Sonic series. Granted, there's plenty of other characters I can go through and also level concepts. And if this interests you, be sure to check out some of my other Sonic videos as well. With that said, my children, be safe. The Prophet has spoken.